Hey FCF, we're still in 2 Timothy. We're going to be in chapter 2, verse 24, and we'll go 24 and 25 today. Paul, again, writing to Timothy, and again, just for a sense of context, remember, this is Paul's last letter. He's about to be martyred by Nero. He knows it. Timothy is essentially going to take over as kind of the number one guy. Timothy has partnered with Paul in ministry for 25 years, so he's, giving these last thoughts to Timothy. The Spirit of God has chosen to preserve those and teach us from them. Verse 24, chapter 2, a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but must be kind to everyone, be able to teach, be patient with difficult people. Verse 25, gently instruct those who oppose the truth. Perhaps God will change those people's hearts and they will learn the truth. Verse 26, then they will come to their senses and escape from the devil's trap. For they have been held captive by him, meaning the devil, to do whatever he meaning the devil again, wants. So there's a lot here to unpack. Let's start with, it's kind of a continuum. In verse 23, he said, don't get involved in foolish and ignorant arguments that only start fights. Verse 24, a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but must be kind to everyone, be able to teach, and be patient with difficult people. So, the Apostle Paul is telling Timothy what we all need to hear, that there are some people, they're just difficult. But it doesn't mean that we don't still interact with them. It doesn't mean that we still don't try to, present Christ to them and present God's truth and God's way of living the best we can. But we have to be tactful because they are difficult people. And they may be those that actually oppose the truth. You feel like they're going under. You watch them drowning, and every time you reach out to hold them up out of the water from drowning, they're fighting off your hand. But Paul says that as a servant of the Lord, you just can't be quarrelsome. You have to learn how to endure uncomfortable conversations with uncomfortable people, very complex people. You can't take things too personal. You can't get your feelings hurt. You have to expect to hear things said to you that you'd rather not hear. All these things are typical. The more we become servants of the Lord to people, whether it's our families, whether it's our friends, whether it's those other circles of influence the Lord has put us in. So a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be kind to everyone. That's a powerful concept. Kindness as a way of just sort of melting people's hearts, opening up authentic conversation, and be able to teach and be patient with difficult people. Now, to be able to teach, this isn't to say that everyone has a teaching gift, but there is a hidden powerful truth there. When we're dealing especially with difficult people, we need to be cautious because there's a way that they can be taught and there's a way that they can't be taught. Let me go further. There are some that at a particular season in their life, they can't be taught by anyone. And you have to learn how to deal with them. You don't exclude them harshly, but you don't try to press the conversation forward because they're just not in a state where they can hear the truth they need to hear. They're just not going to. But there's a ableness, the ability to communicate to people in a way that will meet their needs. That's what Paul is talking about. And that's a skill that we as followers of Christ should be trying to develop. Is we should be students of people. We should be trying to figure out, how could I say this to them that will mean the most to them, that will be the least aggravating or intimidating or anything of that nature, and it'll make them feel that I'm for them, I'm with them. He goes on to then add this. He says, gently instruct. So these difficult people, you gently instruct them. You're kind to them. You're not quarrelsome. Gently instruct those who oppose the truth. Perhaps God will change those people's hearts and they will learn the truth. So this is one of the things I have learned through the years is I've had numerous conversations with people that when you start talking to them, they're very combative. And you get this sense that you're almost in this stump the Christian kind of a competition where they want to ask you questions that you can't answer, or their attitude seems a bit antagonistic or negative. But if you talk to them long enough, and if you talk to them in the right ways, more than often you can get them relaxed, and whatever barriers they were putting up, they start to come down. So that's what Paul is talking about, is that, when you find people that they're opposing God's truth, you need to be gentle with those people. You need to give them the sense that you like them, you're for them. You don't need a win. You don't have to come out on top. You're not trying to control them. You're not trying to change them. You're not trying to manipulate them. It's like you've got a point of view. You believe it's valid. It's from God. And you'd like to share it with them, but you don't have to. If they don't want to hear it, that's fine. You have to be gentle. Sometimes people will almost test our sincerity by pushing hard back on us, or by being a little hostile. And that's where that gentleness is so critical. So he says, gently instruct those who oppose the truth. Perhaps God will change those people's hearts and they'll learn the truth. Verse 26. So if they then learn this truth, verse 26, then they will come to their senses. If you remember the prodigal or the parable of the prodigal son, after he had spent all of his father's inheritance, he was starving to death, and he's admiring the food that the pigs are eating. And the scripture then says he came to his senses, and he started heading home to his father's house. He said, man, even the servants of my dad's place eat better and live better than I do. So coming to our senses, it's a wonderful thing when you get to see this happen with someone that's been antagonistic, someone that's been hostile, someone that's been negative. When you bring up Christ or the subject of God's truth and God's way of living, and then all of a sudden you see a breakthrough. You see that their guard is down, and now they see it for what it is. They see its wisdom. They see its rationality. They see its intelligence. They maybe even start to see the beauty of the way God calls us to live, the validity of it, and they start to just kind of come alive. They come awake. They come to their senses and escape from the devil's trap. Now, this is interesting terminology, that they're in the devil's trap, but they don't know it. For they have been held captive by him to do whatever he wants. Now get the picture. They think they're doing what they want, and they are. The only way that the devil can hold sway over us is if we knowingly or unknowingly embrace his way of living, his way of thinking, his way of behaving. Then he has us just where he wants us, okay? So we are carrying out his will, albeit we don't know that. We don't know that he's trapped us. He's deceived us. He's made us think, for example, that this temporal life is all there is, so get it all while you can. He's made us think that God's either not really there, or if he's there, he's inconsequential, it doesn't matter. Or maybe he's made us think things like, you're not such a bad fellow or bad girl. You've never murdered anybody. Nobody's perfect. So, don't you worry. You'll be great with God, if you ever do stand before him. So he floods us with these kinds of ideas, and once we embrace them, they open up doorways to behavior patterns that are consistent with these false beliefs. So Satan traps us with all kinds of deception, all kinds of seductive ideas and experiences, and we think we're doing our own will, and we are. We're doing exactly what we want to do. Unfortunately, exactly what we want to do is causing us to live the exact way that Satan himself lives, and to think the exact way he thinks. Here's a little insight. This Satan's version of freedom is doing whatever he wants, how he wants, when he wants. It is no restraint. No restraint from God, no restraint from righteousness, no restraint from anything. Complete freedom, satanic freedom, is being able to do whatever you want, however you want it, as often as you want it. And human beings, we often unknowingly embrace that same philosophy, and we are in Satan's trap. And then, of course, he can kind of live vicariously through us. Now, we're doing what we're doing. It's our will, but we're carrying out destructive lifestyle practices that he himself is thoroughly enjoying. We destroy ourselves, and we often destroy other people as well. We're slaves, but we don't know it. But God's truth can bring that time where we come to our senses and we say, what am I doing? Of course this doesn't work. So Paul is trying to encourage Timothy, hang in there with difficult people. Don't exclude them. Don't get involved unnecessarily in arguments. Be gentle with them. Be wise, but try to share the truth, because here and there some will come awake and they will escape this trap that they are in, that they never knew that they were in, a trap of none other than the devil himself. All right, we'll stop there today.